This is The Extra Point, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast, sponsored by your Phoenix Suns.
Hello, Julia Lopez here, alongside sports producer Matt Hippe and our web guru, Brad Denny. Guys, thanks so much for hopping on.
Well, thanks for having us.
Always great to be here with J-Lo.
Yeah, well, Mark, Nick, and Elliot are all on vacay, so we all got to hold it down somehow, right?
Every great team has a deep bench.
And you guys are coming off the bench. I love it.
It's the role I know best.
Yes. We got the sixth men here. All right, so guys, did you guys do anything fun this weekend?
I learned a lot about Broadway. So the Tonys were on Sunday. My wife's a big Broadway fan. I am not. So I got to learn a lot. I mean, of course, supporting CBS 5, tuning in, getting those ratings up. But we also made like a themed dish for every nominee for Best New Musical. I've heard none of them, but they're all spectacular in terms of like what we were able to do, converting them into some fun food items.
Did you learn how many new Broadway shows are there in a year to warrant an annual awards show? Or do they? Because I'm assuming they just give awards for the years they come out, right? Because they'll run for years at a time.
As I learned, so yeah, there was like 5 new awards for like Best New Musicals and then also Best Play, because there's like the differentiation there.
Yeah.
And then there's also a separate category for like Best Revival. So there's like some like old Our Town there's a revival of Our Town or something. So there's like the new, but also like kind of the new dusting off the old. Like there was a Romeo and Juliet that got nominated.
I'm assuming there's like a period of time it has to be off before it can be a revival, right? Like if someone started doing Hamilton, I don't think Hamilton's even stopped.
As I learned, it's still going. They had a 10-year cast reunion performance.
Oh.
And I actually finally saw
10 years.
It's been 10 years. I finally saw it for the first time a few months ago. It's a hell of a show.
It is. I saw it on Broadway back in December. It was
Ooh,
fantastic.
Okay, nice.
And then Matt, did you have anything fun this weekend?
Dog sat. One of our photographer's dogs went and took care of them, let them out a few times.
Awesome.
That was about the extent of my excitement. They're a rowdy bunch.
There you go. We love our dogs and we love our food. I know that you guys make a ton of different meals, right? You and your wife?
Yeah. So yeah, we're cooking a dish from every country in the world, all 196. So we actually, one of the plays was like set in Cuba. So that was our excuse to do Cuba. We did ropa vieja. Pretty good. It's like a meat, tomato stew. Good stuff there. So that was country 51.
Wow.
What was country 1? What'd you start with?
Panama.
U.S.
You started with Panama?
So basically we have them all alphabetical order in a spreadsheet, and we're just like, hey, Siri, pick a random number between 1 and 196.
Wow.
That's the country.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can spend an entire podcast on that, but let's
I want to know more about Panamanian food.
Yeah, let's get to some sports talk here, guys. So Arizona Diamondbacks got swept by the Reds. They're coming off of that 3-game sweep, but they did sweep the Braves in Atlanta prior to that. So they went 3-3 on the road. Now they're back home for 6, starting with the Mariners for 3 and then the Padres for 3. What did you guys think of that when it comes to them getting swept after the sweep?
Well, the rain didn't help them that first game. It seemed like they were neck and neck with the Reds, and then came back the next day for 3 innings, and I don't know, it just hung over, and then it just seemed to stick the rest of the series.
Yeah, the offensive ineptitude seems to continue a little bit there. I mean, it's kind of a bandbox stadium there in Cincinnati, and just scoring 3 runs there. It's really disappointing, and it's really tough overall to kind of gauge the trajectory of the team. Trade deadline's July 31st. What is this team a buyer? Is a seller? I mean, beating the Braves is great. That's just a tick above like sweeping the Marlins or something at this point. But I mean, time's running out. I mean, we got like 5-6 weeks. I think real evaluation time of, is this team really viable as a contender?
Yeah. I mean, if they're buying, how long is that shopping last?
Well, we got to talk about Corbin Burns as well. Him going down for the rest of the year, probably about 14 months, going down with Tommy John surgery. That was the biggest blow, I think, of all. Just to see your ace go down. Where do the D-backs go from here?
I mean, did anybody see this signing going well? I don't know. I feel like anytime a pitcher gets like a 9-figure deal, Tommy John, some major injury is bound to happen. And just, I know, a lot of folks like to dust off the Curse of Valley Sports. maybe that was it. But yeah, I mean, losing a guy of that caliber is obviously going to be a significant detriment, and especially when you combine it with your other ace and Gallen not being up to his usual standards, it just feels like just another twist of the knife.
Well, and even before the injury, I mean, yeah, he was their best pitcher, but how was he playing like a $210 million player?
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever it
In
was?
May, he had a 1.67 ERA. He was really starting to come around, and it just is so sad that injury. And he was always so healthy up until now. He's never had that type of injury before. He's never been hurt. He only had an oblique issue back in the day, but nothing like crazy with the arm. So it's just so strange. And yeah, for Kendrick to put that money out, 6 years, $210 million for that to happen is just brutal.
Yeah, real rough. And just again, like it seems like the Diamondbacks just have such a history of just like the high ticket pitcher. Well, we're gonna splurge, and it just never seems to really work out.
Used it all up on Randy Johnson.
I mean, was he a free agent? Yeah,
Was he? 'Cause wasn't he with the Mariners first?
Yeah,
and then
he
they
was.
had that cup of coffee in Houston, then came to Arizona.
Yeah.
But it just like starting like the Russ Ortiz signing, even Mad Bum a couple years ago. It just seems like especially now with the astronomical contracts that these pitchers are getting later in their careers, and after all, and obviously there's a whole tangent there of just like the wear and tear on arms and injuries and the uptick in pitcher injuries. It seems like such a risky investment, like that long and that with that price tag.
All right. So with who they have right now, they are 6 games back in the wild card standings. Do you think that they can actually make a push into the postseason?
I mean, they did it in 2023. They were not in a great spot, I think, at this time of the year, and they found a way to do it. Their division is, I think, a lot tougher this year than it was back then, though.
Yeah. Yeah. You got the Dodgers, the Giants, who are on a 5-game winning streak right now, and then the Padres, obviously toughest absolute division in Major League Baseball. But let's go ahead and switch gears and talk about ASU football. I know, Brad, this is your forte. So ASU has a lot of connections to Texas, right? They have a bunch of commits from there. They have another one coming in. Give us just like a little bit of a background with what ASU is bringing in.
Yeah, since Kenny Dillingham took over and the staff that he assembled, recruiting Texas has been a huge priority. Now, historically, ASU's done like Southern California. A lot of the core of the most successful teams in program history have had a huge California footprint. That pendulum has kind of swung a little bit to the east, especially, and that didn't not coincidentally coincided with the move to the Big 12. And so over the last 3 years, the Texas to Tempe pipeline, as they've been calling it, has been flowing, and it just every year is more and more pronounced. Obviously, there's been so many key guys on the current roster that are played such key roles in getting the Big 12 title last season. Most of them are back, but in the recruiting trail, after this past weekend, they picked up another Texan. 8 of their 16 commits in the 2026 class are from the state of Texas. And that's been something that has been a key priority. They have an ace recruiter, Brian Carrington, their cornerbacks coach, deep ties in the state. And it just continues to pay off. They have one of the top quarterbacks in the 2026 class, and Jake Fetty, committed. He's out of El Paso. And so this is going to be a real just Texan-heavy Sun Devil football team and program under Kenny Dillingham. And if you're picking a state in the country to really mine deeply for talent, Texas is a pretty good one.
Yeah, if you can't get to Florida, Texas is probably next best.
Absolutely, yeah. And so, I mean, they're still, recruiting a lot out of California, but yeah, the pendulum has definitely swung to the Texan side of things. And obviously with so many games that they're now playing there, the Peach Bowl against Texas, obviously, I've talked to a lot of these recruits and these commits, and they've all said seeing ASU play on that stage and against that team, or and now being able to maybe just travel quickly to catch them on the road, it's made a real impact. And this this 2026 class, which I believe after that commit is now ranked 14th in the country, is a testament to that.
Well, and Kenny Dillingham it was great for him to get that platform to put him out there. I don't think anyone expected him to be the kind of almost phenomenon that he has been nationally. Like, obviously they got that because of the Peach Bowl appearance, but the guy's such a firecracker. People are just so attracted to his energy that he really took ASU to another level, I think, before anybody would have expected it to.
Yeah, and some of the coaches have even admitted to me, like, the success last year was a little bit, faster than even their, presumptions. Obviously they were putting in the work to build, thinking maybe, 26, 27, 28 might be when they see that level of success. But yeah, Kenny Dillingham, he just gets it. He understands where college sports is. He understands where it's going. He embraces that. And I think if you're looking at ASU sports holistically, on the opposite end of that spectrum, you have a guy like Willie Bloomquist, obviously great Sun Devil in his own right in his playing days, really kind of struggled. And you hear some of his comments over the years, is really kind of bemoaning like, oh, pining for the good old days. But Kenny Dillingham knows, okay, this is, we're in the transfer portal era, NIL. We are going to be proactive. We are going to be innovative. We are going to attack this. And you look at what they were able to do in terms of roster retention, not just, adding some players through the portal, but so many of the guys could have left for bigger paydays elsewhere, or they could have, maybe jumped in the NFL draft. So many of them are everybody who could returned of the key players in terms of the two deep roster there. So I think that really speaks to the culture and just how much he gets it, understands it, and how that, goes from him to his staff and down to the players.
Is it true that Sam Levitt is the 7th highest paid college athlete in the country with his NIL?
That's going to be interesting because there's so many numbers about who's getting what, and those figures are rarely total cash compensation. It could be, oh, we're letting him at least drive around in this Ford Mustang for 6 months or something like that, and that's but he is well compensated. But obviously, as he said recently, there was bigger paydays elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But he so believed in the development and with working with Kenny Dillingham, Marcus Arroyo, and the culture and what this team is capable of doing this year. And obviously the Heisman hype's already started, that sometimes there's more important things than just getting the immediate payday. But as he said, setting himself up in a better position for that big NFL, second contract type of payday.
And how big is it that ASU has committed to honoring all scholarships across all sports?
Yeah, the House settlement, recently, late last week was finally. Now there's probably going to be some more legal challenges there, but yeah, Graham Rossini's been really proactive in terms of we are going to expand the scholarship. Baseball, for example, for years has been at that weird 11.7 full rate scholarships you got to divvy up. Now they get a full 34. Football is going from 85 to 105. Now it's going to be interesting to see, what schools are doing what ultimately, and after maybe a couple of years of this and the price tag, in that 20.5 million, that's just, that's the number that the school can put out there and compensate the players. But I mean, other schools, and that doesn't say anything about, that's not a cap on boosters and, the good old time stuff. So it'll be interesting to see a more level playing field, but not totally level in terms of the wake of this, the House settlement.
But I thought it was really interesting going back to Dillingham and his forward thinking. I think it was back in April-ish, right around the time of the spring games, spring practices. He talked about telling players, knowing that this roster cap of 105 players was coming, telling certain players who they're not going to make it and giving them a chance to transfer and look for schools where they'll get an opportunity while they still had plenty of time, versus waiting until July or August and then saying, we got to get under the cap. Sorry, go find another school now. Speaking back to his, the respect that he gets from the players and why they want to stick around here.
Yeah, and it's that straightforwardness, that honesty. I mean, he's like, his saying is, we're going to have more fun working harder than any team in the country. Grammar aside, that's a great phrase to throw around there, and he really puts that in there because he does have fun with his players. He likes to keep things light, but also they put in the hard work, and also the through line through all of that is that directness, is that honesty. They're not promising a recruit or a transfer portal, oh, you're going to come in here and you're going to be in our starting lineup. They only promise opportunities. And so many coaches have the public persona and then what's behind the scenes. And to a person that knows Kenny Dillingham, that's interacted with Kenny Dillingham in a professional or personal manner, is what you see out there is what you get. He is, and that through line. And I think you're starting to see the big turnaround, quicker than anybody's possible, and the way the players buy in. And I think culture has been such a key factor in the turnaround. And that's sometimes in sports just thrown around. Oh, team culture. No, I think for ASU, it's actually legitimately a core ingredient for why they've been able to do that. And you have the players buy in and you see what they're capable of doing.
And I thought it was really cool when Kenny Dillingham went to the Cardinals practice the other day at OTAs, and you could just see him, picking the brain of Jonathan Gannon, an offensive guy, defensive guy. It's just it's so cool to see these two just come together and have the Cardinals open it up for ASU as well, because they're neighbors.
Yeah. Two guys. Dillingham, especially, I can appreciate from a media perspective. He's not a guy you're getting coach speak from. You talk about his honesty and directness. He's great for quotes. It's not hard to sift through something from him and like, oh, there's a storyline.
And he's always like just like hyped up. I love it. But same with Gannon. Like they're
It's like
very
Gannon's
similar.
like that. Yeah,
and
Gannon's
like
like that too.
you can get behind a guy like that. But let's move on to basketball. The Phoenix Suns are hiring, or they already officially hired Jordan Ott. Do we like that hire?
I honestly have no idea. Assistant coaches are so hard to judge of what they bring. Suns fans, I think, to a certain extent, are a little leery of the Michigan State connection. I don't know how deep that Michigan State connection is for Ott compared to some of the other people. I don't know really how relevant it is. The team has focused a lot on his player development, and from what it sounds, he had a big role in Evan Mobley's development this year, becoming an all-star for the Cavs, and I think that's what they're hoping he can bring and apply to Ryan Dunn and Oso Ighodaro. So I mean, you can't go for another championship winning coach who's been out of the league for a year. So you go about the exact opposite. Go for a guy, give him his first head coaching job. I mean, what have they got to lose at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like draw the parallels to ASU. You want the retread yet again, or do you want to give a young up-and-comer a chance? And so after a couple of those retread hires, I mean, you bring in a young guy. Now, yeah, as Matt said, the Michigan State connection, you got nepotism allegation, or whatever. I know a lot of Suns fans were really hoping, Johnny Bryant, the other Cavs assistant that was a finalist for the job, would have been the guy, but it is kind of hard to see. And this is, it's going to be some choppy waters ahead for the Suns in the next couple of years, regardless of who's, leading the team. So we'll see. I mean, he certainly, has been knows what a winning program is, our team and culture, and building, the Cavs have made some huge strides in the last couple of years and, became one of the East's powerhouses. So we'll see if he's able to bring some of that here into a team that's going to look a lot different.
Yeah.
I think the benefit of bringing in a guy like Ott too is the team can easily give him at least 2 years. So you don't have to go to a fourth straight off season wondering
you think.
if you're going to. I think
Tom is 0-26.
I think
history repeats itself
with
one and done.
with the team he's taking and the experience that he has, and if player development really is what they want him for, they have to give him more than a year for that. So I think it's easy for them to say if they get to next off season, even if this year, I don't even know if this year can be disappointing. If last year was such a disappointment, I think the bar has been set much lower that I don't know if they can go much lower necessarily, at least from when compared relative to expectations. Yeah. Yes. So I think it buys them at least 2 years with the guy. And I think they have an easy next year. Like, hey, is his first season? Hopefully there's a few things that they can point to that they're seeing some of that development that they can use and be like, let's give him more time and just keep developing this, and maybe gives them time to get off the second apron. I'm sure Kevin Durant will likely be traded. It sounds like is going to happen. Who knows what's going to happen with Bradley Beal, but I think the first thing they have to do is get off the second apron if they really want to have any flexibility or, real aspirations of developing a team.
Look at that. Matt with the positivity. That's rare. Sometimes he's like very just like, let's go the exact opposite. But talking about that, Kevin Durant, rumors of him moving on. Bill Simmons thinks he's going to the San Antonio Spurs. Do you think that it's surprising that, I think we all knew that KD wasn't going to be here this upcoming season.
I think so.
Yeah, I think that if the key for the Suns, I think, and to Matt's points are I think are spot on. Like, I think you have at least 2 years. What I think you need to do is show a direction. Like, okay, maybe it's not, they can dance around. No, it's not a full rebuild, but like, yeah, you got to spin off KD, try to get out into the albatross of the Bradley Beal deal. But like, I think a fan base will be more accepting and more supportive if you say, okay, this is the direction we have a vision. This is what we're trying to do. Because the last couple of years have just been trying to do the now antiquated notion of building that big three super team. That's not going to work. But now you have a younger head coach, that's presumably going to grow with a young core around Book.
Yeah,
probably.
He wanted him.
Yeah. So I mean, so you're going to have Book, some young guys. Yeah, and there are obviously some dire financial straits, is currently composed, but we'll see. But I think that the front office really needs to kind of, with their moves over the offseason, principally KD and Beal, show a clear direction. Like we're moving in a certain way. We're going to be more of maybe if they don't want to call it rebuild, a significant retooling, just something. Just don't try to do the same thing that you've done the last few years to no avail.
As far as a Kevin Durant trade, I have no idea where he may end up. Spurs, Rockets, Timberwolves are the teams you hear a lot. I think the Suns are going to struggle to maybe get what he's worth because they are in a little bit of a desperate spot. Yeah. They definitely lack leverage in any of these any of these negotiations. So I don't know if they'll necessarily get back what he is worth. But yeah, the contract is I think the biggest thing that. Because, I mean, Durant's play on the court, he certainly was not the reason why they struggled last year.
The injuries.
And then for him to be the player that's on the move, probably because he's got the biggest market out there, they got to get the most from him for him that they can.
Yeah, whether it's standing, I mean, it's interesting. Like they're all Western Conference destinations, and now it's like I think a little bit different because the Suns aren't going to be competing in the West or for the Western Crown and probably in the last few years of KD being a top flight player. So, even though they might have to face him a lot, but whatever the best return is, to recoup some of those draft picks, get some draft capital, be able to, the teams that are successful now, I think the NBA is now firmly moving to that blueprint of like building and developing rather than just trying to, trade and sign your way to a big three.
The Ryan Dunns, Oso Iguodala's, love them.
That requires patience though, which is a lacking quality of many fan bases nowadays. Patience.
Yeah. Or maybe Matt Ishbia.
He seems like a patient fella.
Let's move on to Mercury. They are second place in Western Conference, 3.5 games back of the Minnesota Lynx, who are undefeated. They lost to Seattle over the weekend. They're back home. They're going to be back home, I think, against Dallas on Wednesday. What are our first thoughts of the Mercury?
You want to talk about a team that rebuilds. Mercury are a team that have done it, both rebuilding and having depth. I mean, to lose Kalia Copper for how long before the season started? Alyssa Thomas looked worth every bit the star that she is. And then losing her, Satu Sabally stepping up in this kind of ragtag bunch of rookies that some of them are just trying to get a chance to stay in the WNBA and they're playing like it. It's they've been an incredibly fun team to watch, and just the storylines. Pick a player. They have a fascinating story for how they got here and what they're playing for at this point.
And Satu Sabally is she's phenomenal. Just the way that she is able to just take these young girls under her wing. But she's also like, when you go to like her press game or post game press conferences, like she is hyping them up too. Like she has their backs, and that is an unbelievable thing from someone who's been in the industry or has had this career. For her to have their backs, it's so refreshing to see.
Yeah, just the burst of energy that this young team. I mean, you get rid of some veterans and the new guard, but yeah, just had this success this quickly, and the next game they have the entire roster available will be, of course, the first. But it's really cool to see what they're able to do and getting, especially with the growth of the women's game and the success they have, and obviously the team that they share the building with. Going to have some rough times. So if the Mercury can continue their ascension, I think they have a real good chance to not only just make a run this year, but really gain further traction in the market.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible that they are just second in the Western Conference right now without 3 of their top players. Yeah. That's incredible. As long as they can keep it right there. And once Kalia Copper comes back and Natasha Mack and Alyssa Thomas, it's going to be, I think, they're going to be making a run.
I want to see Thomas and Copper play together so badly. We haven't seen it on the court yet. I think that's going to be an electric duo.
Have you guys been to a Mercury game in person?
Not this year.
Yeah, not this year. Yeah, I've been to several in the past, but not so far this year.
Isn't it awesome? The energy in there, the X factor's on a different level.
Like conga line on the court, really before the fourth quarter and stuff like that.
Especially when you consider the WNBA. The differences between the teams and the venues that they play in is probably the widest gulf of any professional sport. And Mercury consistently at the top, even those years when they're winning 10 games, the crowd is there. That X factor shows up for them. And it is one of the most fun events. I mean, it helps that they play in the summer in Phoenix. It's something to go do inside and watch, but people show up for it.
And it's affordable too, which is
Also
great
that.
for the families out there that they can take their kids and not have to worry about it too much.
And they got a great local TV deal, I understand.
That's right.
Yeah. Does the value meal extend to Mercury games too? The $2.
I think so.
I
think it's just.
I think so. I thought that was an arena thing.
Yeah.
One of the fantastic things.
We need to find that out. We just eat our media meals that they provide.
Shh, don't tell people.
Get out there and mix it up with the people in the concourse, Julia. Come on.
That is true. I should definitely. That's a good story, actually. All right. So baseball, we're going back to it. Arizona Wildcats heading back to the College World Series. I know you're not happy about it as an ASU reporter, but what they did this last weekend was insane. They lost 18-2 in game 1, and then they came back to win the next 2 against North Carolina in Chapel Hill. Crazy crowd. Do you think that they have a chance to actually make a run in Omaha?
I mean, if you come back from something like that, why not? What do they got to play? Murray State?
Yeah, maybe. They just knocked off Duke. So, yeah, they're going to Omaha. So it's going to be that is a program that is just so damn resilient these last few years under Chip Hale. I mean, just it's a team that can be counted out or whatever. Or they always seem to have a mid-season slide, but then always near the end in the conference tournament, Pac-12 are now the Big 12. They find a way to get it done. They win games they shouldn't. They show off the resilience as you talked about. And with ASU's continued slide and mediocrity in the baseball program side of things, I mean, I know ASU fans like to puff, 5-time national champ. Well, Wildcats make a run this year. That's their 5th. So, be careful.
Yeah.
A name like Chip Hale, what else are you going to be but a baseball manager? Are you going to a dentist?
Well, he won the College World Series back in 1986 when he was a Wildcat. So that is a crazy story. So we'll see if he can get it done as a coach this time around. But are you guys tennis people or not really? Did you guys watch the French Open?
And Andre Agassi still playing?
I won't watch a match, but highlights. I'll pay attention to highlights.
Okay.
Alcaraz going back to back. I enjoy. He's someone who I enjoy. Listening to him a few times. I've heard him talk. He's like that new up and comer. He's one of those guys you're going to hear about for the next couple of decades. With Djokovic on the back end
and Nadal.
Nadal's gone. Yeah, he's in that new crop of.
And those names.
And I don't think he's had any kind of scandals or anything up to this point. So good for him.
Yeah.
Coco Gauff winning for the women back-to-back too, getting her second major was huge.
Her first, she was the first American to win the French Open since Serena in 2015. So for her to do that, that's pretty awesome. And I think we're going to bring in our tennis expert, Joe.
Oh.
He watched the finals. What did you think of them, Joe?
No, both finals were awesome. And you had 1 versus 2 on both sides, which is rare in any sport. And we got to see there's been this worry about where's the pro tennis game going, and it feels like it's in good hands. These were all young stars, and the 2 winners came from almost death to come back and win. And the men played for 5.5 hours, which is insane to think about.
In a row?
Yeah.
That's why I say show me the highlights.
Think about what you can do for 5.5 hours straight, and it's not physically play tennis. Can you get 5.5 hours of sleep straight
at the major level? Sometimes.
So it was just a cool weekend to see that happen on the back of the NBA finals and the Stanley Cup games. These major sports having a great weekend, and I was a fan. I'm a fan of the finals. And seeing 1 versus 2 and an American win, it's fun.
Did you watch it from start to finish? I know it started early, 6 a.m., right?
I watched the women. I tuned in the first set, and it was right when Sabalenka was about to take over. She was up 40-love, and then up 4-1 in the first set, and then she just mentally broke down, which is a crazy thing that can happen in tennis. You can see the switch. And she still came back and won the first set, but she was just so mad at the weather. It was windy, and it looked like she'd never played out in the wind before. They're saying the ball and the racket was just hitting where she didn't want it to hit, and she's screaming in Russian and just crying all after every mistake she made. And Coco was just smooth and calm, doesn't waste any energy on that. And she just won. And like Coco's parents are so cool. They don't sit next to each other, like the dad can't watch in the box. But then he comes running down when she won and is happy. It's a great family. They're from Delray Beach, the South Florida area. And it's her second major. She's only 21. And Serena won her first French when she was 21.
What?
So like the parallels are already there with her and Serena, and it's really cool to see.
Tennis, professional tennis specifically, has so much going for it in the athleticism, the technique, the strategies, the personalities involved. But I really think they have to overhaul the scoring system. The way they count,
That won't happen.
the way they count is just for a casual person tuning in is so hard to follow. What, 15, 30, 40?
Deuce.
Yeah,
Deuce.
Advantage.
I think that's the biggest thing working against it. But when you're looking at it and you're watching them play, it's incredible. You know what you're watching is fantastic, but just following it is so tricky. Show me the highlights.
Yeah. If you didn't grow up around it or playing it, absolutely, I get that. And then, all right, we're moving on. Thunder, they even up the series in the finals at 1 game apiece with the Pacers. Real quick, we don't want to like waste too much time on this, but who do you think is going to win this series?
I think it'll be the Thunder.
Yeah.
I hope it'll be the Thunder. I'm so sick of the Pacers.
So I mean, okay, maybe the Midwest thing, the anti-Pacer
Yes.
sentiment. Okay,
Yes.
I'm happy
Bucks
either way.
specifically.
I find myself now because I pulling for the Pacers because they're more of the underdog. But like I'm happy with like Lou Dort and the Thunder winning. But also I think like the Thunder are going to win like 3 of the next 5. So it's like okay.
There's also for people in Arizona, there's kind of a sub competition between the two, where the Thunder have Valley connections with Lou Dort and Jalen Williams, and the Pacers kind of have U of A connections with Matherin and TJ McConnell. So there's kind of that like sub rivalry for people in Arizona to pay attention to kind of pick a side.
True.
That is.
Yeah, I mean the Pacers like kind of like that was their game 1 win was like kind of like the way that it's such a
Been
significant.
doing that the whole playoffs.
Yeah,
It's driving
it's
me
like-
insane.
They were like if they're gonna get 1, which I think that's probably the extent of it. Like they're gonna have to like win in that fashion. With
I don't think
with-
the Thunder they're gonna pull their foot off the gas like
No.
that in the 4th quarter again, and they showed that in game 2.
Yeah.
I think they knew it. They're like, we're not repeating game 1.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it ends in 5.
Yeah, SGA has got to turn it on for sure. All right, and then lastly, Aaron Rodgers going to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It's funny. You're a Steelers fan, and I'm a Packers fan. I want to know. I want to know your feelings now. I mean, we've kind of haven't had to deal with in the last few years. I'm curious. How you feel with
what
the
do you
circus coming to your
what do you
town.
like about it? What do you don't like about it?
I don't like it at all. There's nothing redeeming about this move. Like we're gonna go 9-8, whether it's him or Mason Rudolph, because we don't have a franchise quarterback. And we're gonna win a lot of 16-13 games. I mean he's
The next offseason, you're going to be right back where you've been the last 5 years of who's going to be the Steelers.
well.
quarterback.
Here's the thing, because I mean Rodgers deeply problematic. Whatever. I'm on 26. The draft is in Pittsburgh in 26. Deep quarterback class, and I'm thankful they didn't take a quarterback high in this year's draft, which is very weak, but they have a lot of draft capital next year. So, and I mean, it's just the story writes itself. It's going to be in Pittsburgh, deep quarterback class. They trade up to like 7 or something. And then, with the 7th overall pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select
Arch
Sam
Manning.
Levitt, quarterback,
Oh.
Arizona State, Lenore Sellers, South Carolina, just somebody that's not Mason and definitely not Aaron Rodgers. Although I will say the Rodgers, the one thing I do like about the Rodgers contract, he was cheap. It was like
Yes.
$10 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
And if he gets the full $19 million with the incentives, that means we won the Super Bowl.
I mean, it means he played well. The deal's not bad. It's just going to be, you're going to get to next offseason. And I saw it the last 3 years, and that was going back 5 years ago now of Willie won't he? Is he going to play? Is he going to retire? I don't know. I got to go spend the weekend in a cabin in the dark.
Yeah, I just see like TJ Watt and Cam Hayward, like, like trying to be talked into like
but so
ayahuasca.
This is something to watch for next year. As much as people want to bark about NBA draft and rigging and say what you want about the draft lottery and the Mavericks getting the first overall pick, if somehow the Steelers end up in a position next year in Pittsburgh, a blue blood team like the Steelers, to call a blue blood name like Manning, I think people got to start throwing the same accusations at the NFL. There's something there.
I mean, let it happen to my team for once.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's fine. Just,
I mean, the Steelers are kind of the epitome of doing things right. So if there was one team that would never be involved in that, it's probably the Steelers.
I mean, we haven't had a single-digit draft pick since 2000. So, I mean, it's time. We're due.
I think the Steelers are elite mediocrity.
In the post-Ben era, yes. Like, we're winning with Trubisky and Pickett, and like in spite of the quarterback position, instead of like 18 years of winning because of it. And now it's just,
Heinz Ward.
And yet, I think so many Cardinals fans would love to have the last decade that the Steelers have.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know it's for like caviar problems, like first world, like, okay, it's like, if you don't have a franchise quarterback, like you're just going to be in this purgatory state. And whether, on the high end of that, it's the Steelers. Like, yeah, you're going to go 9-8 and Tomlin's never going to have a losing record. Or you can be, a team that's like the Cardinals.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of the Cardinals, they start mini camp this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We're going to be there for all of that. So definitely tune in for
Mr. Paul Horton.
Yeah. Paul Horton's going to be out
the
there.
Man himself.
I'll be out there on Thursday. First time going to be out there. It's going to be awesome just to see the new faces out there. But yeah, I think we are all good here, guys. I got to edit a package, write it. But
Do it.
Thanks for hopping on.
What are you wasting time with us for?